pretty serious voice. Thank you. Hey.
A warm welcome for former President Barack Obama there in his hometown of Chicago, Illinois. After 3 months of little R&R, the former commander-in-chief is back in the spotlight. He just wrapped up his first public remarks at an event at the University of Chicago where he talked to a number of young people about getting involved in this country. The former president's comments ranged from the growing trend of fake news to a couple of "I'm getting old" jokes.
What's been going on while I've been gone?
In 8th grade, which was your first election, we, in social studies, were told...
Can I just say... I'm old.
When I ran, it was too... I don't have... My last name is Patel. There's not a lot of Patels in office. I just feel like...
A lot of Patels in India, though.
Oh... There's a lot.
I'm just saying there are a lot more Patels than there are Obamas. I want to be clear. Sometimes people think if you're not running for office or it's not election day, there's no other ways of getting involved. And the PTA is a perfect example of the kind of thing that we want to encourage. The statistics show that people are less likely to be involved with various organizations in their community than they used to be. And what that means is then people don't have some of the same habits of being together on a common project that they used to. We've become a more individualistic society. It used to be everybody kind of had the same information, and we had different opinions about it, but there was a common baseline of facts, and that the internet in some ways has accelerated this sense of people having entirely separate conversations.
Let's talk about the president with Joshua Dubois, former religious affairs director during the president's first term. He also has been dubbed by Time Magazine as President Obama's pastor-in-chief. It is so nice to see you again. Welcome back, Joshua.
Great to be with you, Brooke.
All right, so you know the president pretty well. In the entire time watching him, have these substantive conversations with these young people, would you have liked to have seen him be at all aggressive in criticizing the current president?
I don't think so. I think the most important thing about this appearance, first and foremost, quite simply, was that President Obama is back. He is rested, recuperated, got a great tan going on, and ready to have a conversation about American democracy. But then the message itself was, I think, the exact right one. He was saying, I am going to be involved, but I'm not going to do this for you. He was telling young people that I need you to step up, to run for office, to get involved in politics, to advocate for the issues that you care about. And he's going to be out there encouraging them and creating a platform for them. But he's not going to be a solo actor out there engaging in a tit for tat with the administration. And I think that's the exact right posture to have.
I ask you the question only because President Trump is trying to dismantle President Obama's legacy. You look at what he's done in office in the first 100 days and rolling back Obama-era regulations. I'm just curious. Obviously, we can't climb in the head and the heart of the 44th president, but do you think that upsets him, or is he just taking it in stride?
I imagine that he sees it as a challenge. Now, first and foremost, I think there are many things that President Obama accomplished that President Trump simply will not be able to roll back. They're set in stone. Things that have already taken place. There are lots of folks who have health care whose diseases have already been addressed and so forth. And so I think that's an important thing in and of itself. But he also sees it as a challenge to mobilize the American people to fight not on his behalf, but on behalf of these accomplishments. It's not President Obama versus President Trump. It's President Trump and what he's trying to do versus millions of people who care about these accomplishments. And I think it's more about creating platforms for those people to become engaged.
And so in this platform today, you have all of these pretty impressive, young people, talking about their own accomplishments and talking to the president. And here he's talking about the future generation of leaders. Why, Joshua, do you think that is the president's focus, the youth in this country, rather than maybe older, more established voters?
Maybe because they're a little less cynical than some other folks. Maybe because they still can see a future where there's no red state, blue state divide, but that we're all working together in the process of American renewal. I also think it was important that he did this event in Chicago. He was sending a message to folks there that that's where he started and that's where he's coming back to. He's still going to be involved in the local conversation. He hasn't forgotten where he's come from. The other thing, though, that I think was important, this is not something that he said explicitly, but if I was the president's former political opponents, I'd be a little worried right now. This was a low-key event, just the president sitting around with some college students, and it still galvanized American attention. It was still the number one trend on Twitter. And so he's going to have a megaphone, a platform, whenever he wants one.
Just quickly, what do you think his next act looks like?
You know, I can't say for sure. I imagine he will continue to pour into men and boys of color through the My Brother's Keeper initiative. I'm looking forward to his conversation with Angela Merkel and wondering whether he's going to get into some of the foreign policy debates that are at the forefront of our conversation today. I hope he continues to get a little bit more rest. He's had some, but after 8 years, he deserves plenty of it. And I'm looking forward to this book as well. You know, I imagine that we're going to have a window into some moments that we've all wondered about the Obama administration. So he's going to have a lot on his plate. I'm excited about what's to come.
Joshua Dubois, I will see you in Washington. Thank you so much.
See you soon.
Thank you. Coming up next here on CNN.